And we're live. Phil Tarrant, Tom Panos.
Josh Kessler.
And Josh says, look at this guy already. You can see why he's the number one agent, Ray White. He's a bit uppity, Tom, a bit nervous. You've talked this guy up for many, many years. You're saying that he's one of the most ambitious real estate agents you've ever met, and also one of the most coachable real estate agents you've ever met. It's very nice to meet, Josh. That accolade you picked up last week, number one worldwide for Ray White.
Global.
How much of it? Here you go. I want to talk to Tom Panos. You talk to him all the time.
Talk to me.
How much of that had to do with anything that Tom Panos has worked with you on?
Lots, mate.
Look at Phil.
He's put you underneath the bus. Lots, man. I think I'm very coachable because I listen. If Tom tells me to do something like prospecting, you can't just have one prospecting method.
I'll tell you one thing. We were sitting in a session now, Phil. There's about 10 of us in the room. And you know, it's interesting. You can see when there's something that's been said that's strong, what he does is he pulls out his mobile and types it away. He's got a good capture and reproduce system, which you need in learning. And I know, Phil, that this was a bit of a surprise conversation. It's just that I can't get back home in time to actually make sure that we get this podcast out, which we do on a Thursday. Yep. And Phil, you've actually off camera, you were talking about it. You are familiar a little bit with this area, but I just want to give you the magnitude of what actually happened on last Monday. So Phil, just picture this. He got awarded number one for Ray White internationally. He wrote nearly $8 million in fees. But what's really interesting is picture this. And that wasn't based on number of sales. No. This is based on commissions. And we clearly know that commissions is simply the derived number of the position, the fee you charge versus the dollar value. Number two was Vivian Yap in, was it Vivian Yap?
Yep, Dalkeith.
What's the average price there? 4 million?
4 million.
Okay. Number three was
Gavin, yeah.
Gavin Rubenstein. And we know those there. So if you want to picture the magnitude of what had to happen, he had to sell 3 and 4 times more properties to be able to compete to win that award. It's actually, I'm not just saying it because we're sitting here and he's a client and because we're together. But the truth is, basic mathematics is he had to go off and do 3 to 4 times as many as inspections, 3 to 4 many times negotiations, listing presentations. And quite frankly, Phil, I've got to say, I sometimes think that selling an $800,000 property can be harder than selling a $3 million property, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people feel a lot of pain if the price is $10,000, $20,000 less, whereas when you're on an $8, $9 million property, 500 to a mil is not too far away.
So, Tom, thanks for bringing Josh on. I've got a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to pepper you guys with them, and I think the purpose of that is to help other agents who may be ambitious, like Josh, are on that pathway, operating in areas which, let's be frank, aren't the blue chip darlings of real estate in Australia. They're not Vaucluse or Mossman or Point Piper or Toorak, where I think they just sold an $80 million property down there for a ghost mansion. So,
wow.
So I'm gonna answer some questions. I'm just a humble journalist, as you know, Tom. What I want to know is understand your responses to these to help shape my understanding of how you operate so effectively, Josh.
Yep.
Do you work? So you sell 3 to 4 times more properties in terms of aggregate number of them to make your comps. Do you work 3 to 4 times harder than the number one and the number two on that Ray White Global list?
Yeah, 100%. Look, respect to everyone on the list. They're all great agents. And the reason I joined the Ray White network and I came number one, that was my goal from the start. I told Tom, I told Dan White, Brian White, the whole family. I wanted to test myself and prove myself as the best in the best network in the world. 370 properties I settled last year. I'm the only one listing them. I'm the only one prospecting. I'm the only one vendor managing. I've got a team, obviously, that helped me out with open homes, admin, marketing at the end of the day. I only did that with 2 associates. So, 370 properties. Real estate is sacrifice. Not a lot of people are prepared to not go out, not party, not have a life, not see family. My fiance works in my office. My mum works in the office. I've got my sister who I sold a house to 2 streets away from my office. so I can see my niece. I work 7 days a week. I've had bloody COVID a couple of times and, recovered from that. That was the only time I've ever had off. So yeah, no breaks at all. Even my honeymoon that I've got coming up, mate, I'm having that over the Christmas break. So yeah, no breaks to be the best.
So Phil,
yes.
Can I just say he's moved on to auctions, and you can talk about that in a moment, because this is not an auction area.
No.
But he had to do it because all the deals were having rescissions.
Correct.
He does his auctions on Sundays, and he's essentially working 7 days. And we're not talking about a Sunday, it's an hour here, an hour there. It's a full day of auctions, right? 7 auctions on a Sunday?
I do 12 on a Sunday. So 12 back-to-back unless a few sell prior. So last Sunday was 9. This Sunday is 13. Next Sunday is 14. And then I've got 15 after. So we're going from like 8:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night on a Sunday back-to-back.
So talk to me then, Josh, around efficiencies then. Are you more efficient than most agents, and how do you keep efficient to actually fit that much into your day?
Yeah, I'm super simple. I think real estate's overcomplicated. A lot of people want to do glitzy videos and, go really over the top with things. I think it's super simple. They've got a house that they want to sell. They want the best agent. I show my value in terms of marketing, in terms of market share, in terms of buyers that I've got. I've always got the most energy. Energy sells. Someone will list with you if you've got the most energy. That's how I overcame all my competitors and I suppose agents that are 50, 60 and 70 in my marketplace. And I'm only 27 years of age. I sold my first house at 19. So I think that, I've got to be a lot smarter with my time. I can't afford to be in a listing appointment for 2 hours. I'm in and out within 30, 40 maximum. They've listed the house. We've got a plan in place. It hits the market in a couple of weeks. And that's how I do it on volume.
So you're in a scale business and you're scaling yourself and your time, which is always a challenge. It always has an endpoint. How long can you do this for, Josh?
Oh, look, until I want to stop. I think just like Tom with coaching, I think we do it not for the money. We do it because we enjoy it. Real estate is definitely, you meet different people every day, different situations. Like I just came from a house over in Quakers, $1.5 million house, swimming pool, over 700 square meter block. Gets me excited. I know it's coming on in 2 weeks. I know a lovely family is going to buy it. And at the end of the day, stuff like that keeps me going. The money's secondary. Like I was at a dinner last night with a few mates, real estate agents. And I said, the difference of, writing almost 8 million this year and writing 2 or 3 million, that's not going to change your life, the extra 4 million. You do it because you enjoy it and the money comes with it.
So how do you keep? Yes.
Phil, can I ask you, just listening there through the screen, you can sense that energy, the frequency there, right? And you can picture being in a living room with him, plus when he's going out there, he's got all the profiles, so that helps. He's going in there with a brand, but you can sense he's got this new business energy about him.
Yeah,
that's true. But the question was, how do you retain that once fatigue or malaise starts setting in, because you can only operate at absolute peak level for so long before something needs to give?
Yeah, look, I think when I have kids, maybe that'll change life. At the moment, I've got no kids. Obviously, I'm yet to be married, and I'm still 27 years of age. I'm in the peak of my life. A lot of people said to me, I won Rate My Agent when I was at another company you couldn't get accolades there. So Rate My Agent was my only avenue. I won that 3 times, and people said, not everyone's on Rate My Agent. And then I won realestate.com. And then people said, maybe he should win, Ray White to be considered number 1. And then I just took out number 1 in Ray White. And then people said, will he win it again? So my next goal is to write over 8 million and win it again. So, I just love what I do. I think I can inspire people at my age. No one at 27 years of age is, I suppose, writing this many, much in commission and, selling over 300 properties. So hopefully I can inspire a few people. That keeps me going too.
How much repetition is there in your listing presentation? You said you try and keep it sort of around 40 minutes and then move on to the next one. So you got to keep a really tight diary. But how similar is each presentation? Is it the same routine, the same structure, the same method, and you just tailor it a bit depending on who you're selling to?
All get tailored. At the end of the day, like I'll meet people like me that are young, hungry, around that 30, 35. They love the energy. They want the Josh Teslan experience. And then there's other people that are, a little bit more senior, in their 50s, in their 60s. And, I've got to calm it down a little bit. You're looking to put your place on the market. What time frame works for you? Opposed to other people that are like, Josh, we're on the market tomorrow. Sign it up. I want the signboard. I want the video. Let's rock and roll. Let's dance. So it all really depends on the client. Of course, things become repetitive. It's like open homes. You see the same buyers every single week, but at the end of the day, every owner is different. Every owner has different emotions, different motivations, upsizing, downsizing, death, divorce, expanding family, just had a baby on the way or just had a baby. So it's always different. Yes, it does become repetitive, but at the end of the day, there's always a new buyer for a new house and there's always a new owner. So we mix it up.
Yeah, I saw unemployment rates, I think, came out today. It was sort of 3.4%. You having problems finding staff? Or are they lining up out the door, wanting the Josh Teslin experience?
Look, not really. I just bought a rent roll of over 800 properties. That cost me a fair bit, which was great. Wanted to, get an investment for the long term. So I had to hire, me and the Ray White corporate team, 9 property managers, including admins, including, leasing executives, property managers, team leaders, BDMs. I had to hire that in like a 2-3 week period. So that was interesting. But yeah, look, I think good culture attracts good people. We have outstanding culture in my office. We're all going out tonight for drinks. We went out last night. I will reward staff. We're writing, over $1.2 million as an office every single month. We're listing over 70 properties as an office every single month. We're leasing as an office over 40 every single month, bringing in 20 new managements every single month. So at the end of the day, I think staff will stay with you and you'll attract good people when you've got a good culture, good results, good energy, and people want to be in an environment where we're spending more time in the office and with our work family. 90% is at work, our life, to enjoy the 10% at home. So I think it's very important culture, and we've got a great one.
Phil, if you were sitting here when we were doing the training session about an hour ago, the average age is about 25.
Yeah.
They're all young.
Yep.
So they play hard, work hard. If I was working in this business, I couldn't keep up with that pace because I need 7-8 hours sleep, right?
Yeah.
These guys here, think about it. They went out last night. They're going out tonight, right? That's the operating pattern. There's this energy. I'm not saying, mate, a lot more ethical than Wolf of Wall Street, but if you watch that, it's got that energy, man. We're just pumping away. Phone calls, buyers are coming in.
Yep.
It's got this high frequency and tempo where you walk into some real estate office, they feel like they're adult daycare centers. That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, it's often hard to manufacture that culture, but once you've got it moving, you want to keep driving it forward. And Tom, I'm sure Josh will always let you park your Zimmer frame out the front, mate. Come in every now and then and have a nose around. But Josh, talk me through the catalyst of you making the investment. And I don't know how much it cost, but I imagine it's expensive.
Over $4 million
to bring Tom Panos in as a coach. Tell me about that. Why'd you do that? When did you do that?
Mate, I brought Tommy in. So I met Tom at the Virgin Lounge a couple of years ago, probably about 5 to 6 years ago now, on the way to my first ARIC in 17. And I came up to Tom. He was having a soup after some auctions. And I said, Tom, my name's Josh Teslin. And he sort of looked at me and goes, who? And I go, oh, look, mate, Josh, in a nice way. And I said, Josh Teslin. I said, I want to be on your $1 Million Agent podcast. And he goes, how much do you write? And I said, I've got no idea. And at that time, maybe it was around 500-600. And I said, if I write $1 million this year, will you put me on your podcast? And he goes, yep. And then he gave me his phone. I put my Instagram in, and then I followed to message Tom every sale, every listing, every 100,000 that I wrote. I wrote 1.17 in my first year of sales when I was 22 years of age. And then Tom just became my coach. Anything he told me, I do. Any piece of advices. And I think me and Tom's friendship goes more than just a coach. We talk about personal life, personal issues. We help each other out a lot. He coaches my team. I help him.
So Phil, and that's an interesting point, because I'm going to say what you'll notice is when people get to a certain level, he is a better lister than I. He's a better buyer manager than I. That's what he does for a living, right?
Yeah.
But what it is in a coaching relationship, I think when you're in the picture, you can't see the frame. That's where a third party can come in and then ask questions, suggest this, and then he thinks about it in his own way, in an experiential way. He goes off and does it.
Yeah.
But the most interesting thing of all, Phil, is when you get to Josh's level, I've got to tell you, it's not necessarily so much about here are the 7 steps to vendor management. It's about life.
Yep.
It's about blending your life. It's about trying to overcome the setbacks. I mean, if he's doing as many listings as he's he's also going to miss out on a lot of listings.
Yep.
I mean, so just imagine, like, if he's doing 390 listings a year to do the 370 sales, which would be roughly 400 listings.
400 minimum.
All right, 400, right? Because to do that many sales, not everything sells.
Lots withdraw, yeah.
You miss out on a lot of stock as well. Because
Definitely.
to get 400 listings, what do you do mentally?
Yep. I'll tell you what.
When you lose.
When I lose, it's almost like Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan lost those, I'm not Michael Jordan, but it's similar mentality. When you lose, it's actually the best thing for me. When I'm winning over and over, like since I came back from Connect, which was the big international awards with Ray White, I reckon I've listed probably, I'm on 37 for the month. I was only on 10 when I left. So I've signed 27 almost in the last 7 days, almost 3 to 4 a day. I haven't lost anything. And it sort of doesn't demotivate you, but you want to have someone to kick along with. Now, one of the worst things that happened, one of my main competitors, he was in my marketplace. He's now left the industry. He's now moved to another state. And I remember I said to the team, I was like, look, we didn't like each other. He said some things and, he didn't like my success. But at the end of the day, he was good for me. I enjoyed that competition when they used to say his name and we used to compete against each other. Used to maybe beat me to 1 out of 20 or 30 listings, but still that 1 or 20 would fuel me for the next 50. So I think losing listings is important. As bad as this sounds, sometimes I'll only really take on super motivated vendors. And if they're super overpriced or I don't think it's sellable, I'll happily say to them, go with the next company, go with someone else. It's okay if I don't sell it. I really just want to work with people that want to work with me. And as I said, my high energy, high enthusiasm, I want to have that throughout the campaign. I don't want to be demotivated. So a good listing, A, motivates me, and B, losing when it does happen is a good thing. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people discount the value of competition, and competition keeps you honest. And for those people that try and stay away or shy away from competition, they're typically the people that move states and start up again. Now, what's the future look like for you? You're going to run out of houses to sell in Quakers Hill. What's the expansion plans for the business?
I'll never run out of buying houses. So look, I think what's the expansion for Ray White Quakers Hill? The expansion for us is very much my team. I love my team. A lot of people, when I started this business, said, oh, it's just the Josh Teslin show. But 2 years later, I've got Taylor. Taylor was writing 600 at another company. Taylor's going to write 2 million this year. I've got Mark, another company, 250. Mark's on track for 1 million. Alex writing 300. Salamar, he's on track for 1 million. I've got Luke, first year as an agent, started in Feb, already written 550. His goal was 600. He's going to smash that. So I think developing quality agents, I want us all to be Chairman's Elite, which is over 1.25 within the Ray White network. I think that builds a lot of credibility that it's not just me doing well, it's the boys. Obviously, I support them. I'm there for them. We run listings together. So I think, the rent roll was a big purchase. I'd love to grow that to 1,200. I think that's very achievable by, the end of 2023, 2024. My office, I'd love to expand it further. We all need more associates and more admin and more staff. So acquiring another office, maybe next door or behind, that's the natural progression. But being number one in the Ray White group gives me a lot of pride. I'm the face of the company. I'm the youngest to ever do it. I'm the first one to ever win volume of sales and commission of sales. It's usually there's one rider in a smaller area of a smaller sale price and they never win commission because it's not high. I took out everything, residential performer, sales, commission, international, and number of sales. So I think continuing that, the White family were good for me, good to me. I love Dan, I love Brian, I love everybody in Ray White corporate. They're like my family. So yeah, just doing everyone proud. And I suppose by 30, I'd love one day to hit 10 million in commission. I don't think many people have done that. So that's probably the next goal.
So Phil, the other bit I'll say before we finish up today is, and today was different because we had another office in the training session, which was White Fox.
Marty's
team.
Yeah.
But we were here 2 weeks ago, and I've seen him move from just being a real estate agent to becoming a leader. And I'll give you an example of that. We were going around the room talking to the team. Now, don't forget, he's focused on writing his 8 mil in GCI, but there's also one eye saying, Taylor, you got to do this, you got to get better here, you got to do this. So he's also making sure that the team is growing. And what I found, Josh, I never mentioned it to you, but it became very clear to me he has the crucial conversations, which often a lot of employers don't. He actually said to, I'm not going to mention the agent's name, it's not necessary, but you know who I'm talking about because he was in the room, and you said, I've got to say to you, you said to him, I've got to say to you, I think you could be doing a lot better. You're finishing up a little bit earlier than I thought you'd be. You're not valuing the importance on a Saturday afternoon to be doing our callbacks. And I just think that there's so much more in you, right? Now, a lot of people don't have these crucial conversations when they're a selling principal. They just sit there and they're just focused on, all I care about is my effective business unit, Phil. But I can see that Josh is slowly emerging from just being this solo deal maker, like a striker at a game, and he's actually moving to being the striker and the coach. And he's sitting there and he's thinking to himself, what is it that I can say to do to help this person become better? And he has the crucial conversations, and we went around the room talking about the strengths and weaknesses of each people. And he's quite vocal because he's got a very important skill, and he's learned tough love. And tough love's important when you're a leader, Phil. You know that. How many people work in your organization, Phil?
Oh, within the momentum business, like 150 something people.
Wow. 150. And you know that, you know, sometimes you've got to say things to people that they probably don't want to hear, but they need to hear. And the avoidance of these conversations is awfully what stunts growth in a company. It actually stunts growth in every organization, even in a marriage, even in any organization. People don't say what needs to be said.
Got to be cruel to be kind.
Cruel to be kind. Well, do you know who does that really well? And it's a structural thing, Tom. I think we might have spoken about it before. Is fighter pilots. They actually have a doctrine for that thing. And after every single time they do a mission, they all go into a room and they really appreciate the value of debrief. And when they debrief, it's nameless and rankless. So even though you're the most junior person in a squadron and someone's got more bars on their shoulders, you can give that feedback and criticize and critique their performance with the view of everyone getting together. And you know, they have different sort of terms for it. There's OODA loop. There's all this sort of stuff that they use. Go and check it out. You probably get some value out of that, and just look at it from the discipline of real estate, both as a leader but an operator as well. And I think, you know, that's where you're going to shine. I can say this because I grew up out your way where you are, Josh, and I like to fly the flags for Westies wherever I get a chance to do it. How do all the eastern suburbs toffs within Ray White think, and the agents operating the more exclusive areas, what do they think about a Westie coming up number one?
What can they say now? That's all I got to say. Doubt me now. You know, a lot of people sell a lot of people sell better houses than me. And if that's their flavor, I remember I heard on a podcast, I won't say who or when, and they said, you know, a guy in Quakers Hill makes more money than me, but I'd hate to work there. I'd hate to work with your clients and work in your area. I enjoy volume. I enjoy the pit. You know what? I am the same. I have a house in Quakers Hill myself. My family lives here. My sister lives here. You know, I'm the same as them. I don't think I'm better than people.
I can see a state of origin, West versus East, once a year. So Phil, before we finish this podcast, because I do want to touch on very briefly on the market, and I want to get Josh's view. I have a personal view, Phil, that I believe on a clock, if you were looking at a clock, I believe that we are potentially close to number 5. I believe we are not far off from the bottom of the market. We've had a 15%, you know, price alignment in many markets. I'm going to ask Josh in a moment what it's been here. We've had the Commonwealth Bank that's decreased their long-term fixed rate. My clearance rate started to look like 7 out of 10 and 5 out of 8. There's a bit of normality setting in. I believe, yes, there is a possibility that we're going to get a 5% reduction when there's more stock in spring. But I think we're not far away. And when I'm seeing headlines like the ANZ yesterday saying, oh, be careful, prices are going to drop 15, 20%. Well, hello, they already have. Right? They already have, Phil. Josh, how much have prices dropped in Quakers or in the surrounding areas?
For some houses, I'd say 20%. We were selling single story, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car houses on a regular 550, 600 square meter block for upwards of 1.3 to 1.4. That was normality in October, November, December, Jan. Now, fast forward 7 months, you'd be lucky to get $1 million for some of those houses. So definitely a correction of up to 20%. It's a little bit less on the townhouses, maybe around 10 to 15, but it's all relevant. Like we all say, the people in the know who have been in tough markets. I've seen tough markets. I've been in 2018, when they were threatening death taxes, Labor was going to get in at the time. There was a lot of uncertainty, mortgage broker, trail commissions were in, turmoil. There's a lot of, heat on the market at that point. I remember it's got to get worse before it gets better. So, if you are buying less and you are selling less, like I met a guy on the weekend, came to one of my auctions. His name was Michael. And he said, I sold in a really bad time in 2018. And I said, where are you now, Michael? And he goes, I'm in the ponds. I bought at that same time. And he goes, I could now afford an area which I couldn't before because, yes, I sold a bit less, but I also bought a bit less and it worked out to be the exact same. So I definitely feel in this market, there's a lot of good deals to be had as a buyer, a lot of good deals as a seller on the changeover. I think, as I said, it'll probably go down a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're employed to just get the best price in all markets. And I definitely feel if you can promote a property correctly, you've got good energy, you create competition, you bring multiple buyers, you bring the owner the best offer in the market, give them a chance to say no. If this is the value of their home, they're entitled to say, I'll take it or I won't. And that's what I pride myself on. I never have an auction with zero bidders, always have activity. Auctions have worked perfectly. They create a deadline. The buyer doesn't have any remorse as well. With a cooling off period, I had lots of rescissions. My business is now 95 to 96% auction, clearance rate of 88%. In a market that never did auctions. So I think we've all had to adapt and change and, go with the market. And yes, it has corrected, but, 2-3 years time, we'll be back to another peak and then it will go down again in another 10 years time. That's just real estate.
And Phil, markets, before you go, sorry to cut you off, when markets correct, 35 years in this business, I'll tell you something, they correct sooner than we realize it.
Yep.
What happens is you wake up and then you realize, wow, things have changed. So before you know it, this thing is over.
Yep.
Now I don't know whether it's 6 months and I don't know whether it's 4 months. I just got a funny feeling that, there's only a few more chapters left in this. We've probably got, a few more rate rises, a bit of stock to come up in spring, but I think things are settling. I'd love to get your view, Phil, on that.
Yeah, I reckon you're pretty close. And if anyone's wondering why they watch Real Estate Exposed every Thursday, Phil Tarrant and Tom Panos, is because we get the big names in real estate coming over yarn with us. Josh, thanks for that secret sauce, mate. You've just given all your tips and all the winning strategies there. But that's the beauty of real estate, right? It's how you execute.
They can't cook it like Josh Teslin.
Can't cook it like Josh Teslin. And Tom, I'd be more than happy to host a battle of the suburbs, East v West. I could see mediocre listings. Quakers Hill could take on Lux listings out in the eastern suburbs. I'm sure there's a TV show in that. Me and Tom have been talking about doing a ride along. Maybe we can have some fun with that. But Tom, I subscribe to your view. I don't think we're far off 6 o'clock. If 6 o'clock is when the market swings, I reckon you're going to hit 6 o'clock around March, April of next year, and that's when things are going to accelerate in a very different direction. I say that because at a economic point of view, I think a lot of the impacts of inflationary pressures will have washed through by then. I think also the Reserve Bank will have applied a pretty big stick up until the end of the year with a few more rate rises. So I think that will be that sentiment transition point where things go from things are perpetually getting worse to, oh, hang on a sec, things are starting to get better. And that's when markets will shift and change. I'm really keen to understand Quakers a little bit more. Josh, I might give you a call. I'm always in the lookout for good markets.
Suburb properties. This guy, he loves buying, but I'm letting you know, he wants bargains.
Sorry, mate.
He wants bargains.
I work for the vendor, my man. I'm so sorry.
You just told me, Josh, that prices are down 20% and falling. So when you've got some desperate buyers out there, they need a quick sale, you give me a phone call.
Mate. For you, it's premium only for the best house in the area.
All righty. Listen, Josh, absolutely a pleasure. It was a last-minute decision since we were here.
That's right.
Phil, thank you so much, as usual. And we look forward to talking again next week. But I want to let everyone know watching this, I actually think if you are a buyer that's been trying to time things, I wouldn't be thinking to myself, I'd be setting a goal, buy a property within the next 6 months.
Yep.
Buy a property in the next 6 months. Because if you don't, the chance that you'll be going on the upswing.
100%. Simple goal. I want Josh to have the last word. Josh, what's the best thing you've ever learned from Tom Panos?
The best thing I've ever learned from Tom Panos, I think it's put a lot of prospecting rods out there, be honest with people, tell it how it is, have good energy, and it's hard to beat someone that won't sleep. So I never sleep. I took that advice. I just work throughout.
He's getting married soon.
It's true.
Oh, well, things will
You're
change.
emceeing my wedding.
100%.
He's my MC.
Listen, he's relentless, Phil. When I say relentless, we're talking about getting messages 7 days a week, 11:30, 8 p.m., 12:07 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? He gets the text messages. He's the text king of Australia.
Yeah.
He gets his vendors, prospective vendors, getting text messages at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So these vendors are thinking to themselves, this guy here, he's the one we want to work for. We want someone that's working 24/7. Not one of these agents that works 9 to 5 and then sits down in the bar at 6 o'clock telling war stories. You know?
No, exactly. Non-stop work, mate. Results.
Josh
Signing off.
Tesselin, number one Ray White worldwide. Tom Panos, Real Estate Exposed. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Global.